Hey everyone, this is TG Watkins at simplertrading.com, and today is your Daily 5. So we're going to get into this initially with the indexes. We're going to be looking at the NASDAQ to help you kind of see what I'm seeing out there, because there are some differences. I was looking back here when this is the hourly chart, when price was underneath the hourly 200 SMA, and you could see that it was getting rejected right through there. And that was pretty obvious. We could see that that was an issue. And then when price was finally able to pop over, we could see that the 50 crossed over the 200 right there. So I'm looking at that same situation over the last few days, trying to see if price is going to run into the hourly 200 and pull back, just like it did back in this situation. But this time, as a couple more days continue on, that is not happening. It's continuing to hang out up here, which I'm still looking for price to kind of fill this gap in between price and the hourly 50. But I'm looking at this and saying, this might actually be a pretty good sign of strength, the fact that price is actually hanging out up here and not getting rejected right away at the hourly 200. The other way to be looking at this on the daily chart is the last right here, and right here on the daily is price ran right into the daily 50 SMA, and then you could also see that the 8 was below the 21. The 8 EMA was below the 21 EMA, and it still needed some work in order to get that to cross over right there. But if we look where we are currently, that time and price have moved up and held there for so long that the 8 is now crossing over the 21 on its own. So if we look at the difference between here and here, we can see that it is different, and that the 8 EMA is now over the 21 EMA, and we're actually seeing some positive strengths. The only concern I have, similar to here on the hourly chart where price is still a distance away from the hourly 50, is that I'm still seeing a distance here between price and the 8 EMA. There's an air pocket right there. That's right there that I'm coloring in. And I think we need to get that resolved. So I am looking for either flagging sideways for price to come into the 8 EMA, or I'm looking for price to kind of come down, pull back, and fill that little gap right there. I want to see price come down into support before I'm really super set on this index and some of the names out there. So let's kind of look at the next one. So with pizza, this is Papa John's. And what I wanted to show in here were a couple just patterns that I typically see. One of them is right here when we have price crossing over the daily 50 SMA. This is what I call the first move versus the second move. This is where price is able to cross over the moving average, basically telling us and telling traders that, hey, you know what? This moving average, the daily 50, is no longer resistance. Great. That's the first move. The second move, though, is when price has to come back around and test that moving average for support, because earlier it only demonstrated or verified that it's not resistance anymore, but it hasn't actually proven that it's support. So I always look for that second move coming down into a moving average for support. Now let's go take a look at another ticker that is in this halfway situation and what I think it will do based on these kind of patterns that I see on something like pizza. So over here we have silver. And silver, you can see it's done the same thing that pizza did, where it crossed over the daily 50 SMA. Great. Now, what do we think it's going to do? Well, if in an ideal world it does what I want it to do and what I'm used to seeing as far as these patterns like Papa John's, is I would love to see over time, eventually, however long this is going to take, but I'd like to see price come down to the daily 50 and then test the daily 50 for support in some way, somehow. We just have to wait for that and wait for price to come down to that moving average. And then we have to look lower to see if that's going to happen. So that's why I showed you Papa John's to show you the full cycle of what I'm expecting. And then when we look at something like silver, like, okay, that kind of makes sense. The other thing is you can see that happened before. Like here's where price crossed over the 50, and then here is where price came back down to test the 50. And then that reminds me, let me go back to pizza because I wanted to show you this one. You can see the same thing. Here's where price crossed over the 50, and here's where price came back down to test the 50. So same situation, cross, test, cross, test. So if we go back to silver, that again is why I'm looking at cross, test, cross, test. So that's why I have my eyes on a pullback to the daily 50 for silver. And then as far as the Moxie indicator and how it's speaking to me, look at the hourly chart. We can see that we've had price move up, but the Moxie indicator moved down. Okay, so it's going up on less energy. All right, well, we've had price move up even further, but the Moxie indicator continued to move down. It's a lower high. So that's telling me it's going up on less energy. So let me take that away. And then you can see here, The Moxie price trigger is actually fired to the downside, just meaning that the indicator is now below zero, meaning it is now negative space. And this might be the beginning of price starting to roll over and head back down to that daily 50, because also price is not holding the hourly 50 anymore. It's starting to trend through it to the downside. Then we go over here to Skilz, another one that I wanted to kind of show you. This is the first move, price crossing over the 50. Again, doesn't matter what time frame we're talking about. It's only whatever time frame we're starting to see the setup on. And so what I was looking for is, well, I at least know that price is going to come back down to the 50, and I want to see that if it's going to hold or not. In this case, it didn't hold. That's why you kind of keep watching. You look for verification that it's going to do what you want it to do. But look what happened later. Hey, right here, look at this. Now we see price actually holding that moving average. And so back to the same thing with silver. Cross, test, didn't work. Cross, test, did work. That's the difference. And then we can start seeing constructive setups. So look for the cross, look for the pullback to the test. If it holds, great, then it's a setup. If it doesn't, you wait. And then we can also see here, it's my famous elf shoe pattern that I talk about. Here's the leg, here's the heel, here's the arch of the foot, there's the ball of the foot, there's the elf toe beginning. So that's a fun pattern right there. And then also with this, we can look over here at ride, and we can see the same thing. Here is where price crossed the 50. And then we look at it here, and now this was earnings. I kind of blame it on earnings, but that's why I don't like to trade earnings, because you never know. But it didn't hold the 50, just like Skilz. And so then I wait and see, hey, when is this going to actually hold the 50? And it looks like here, now that it's back over the 50, that looks good. And you can see here on the lower time frame on the 15, it did hold the 50. Whereas before, right in through here, you could see it kept getting rejected by the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50, but now we're starting to hold that 15-minute 50. So those are the differences of how I look at this stuff to make sure that we are actually holding some of these trends. And then if we look over here at the daily chart, we are just now in the process of getting over the daily 50. So that is something that I want to see. And we could be seeing a nice move up like this, just like we saw a nice move up like this. And just know at some point, I would eventually like to see price come back down to test the 50. So all the same kind of idea, just on different time frames. This is what I call the fractal nature of how stocks and patterns start to set up from lower time frames to higher time frames. So that'll take you and cover you for your daily 5. Thanks for watching. If you guys are interested in myself and anything else that I do and how I teach and a little bit more information, just come up here and check out the free newsletter. This is our link. We're going to be having that posted for you. And then if you want to be seeing anything else as far as my Twitter posts or Facebook, we do Facebook live sessions on Wednesday mornings. And then we also broadcast to Instagram and YouTube. But over here, I'm a pilot. My dad and I are pilots. That's why we call it the Profit Pilot. But come over here. There's some fun pictures over at Instagram if you guys want to check that out. And then for the services that I offer, the Moxie Trader Mastery, we've got live trading. In fact, we've been doing a lot of that this week since the markets have been starting to change a bit. Interactive Q&A, I always talk to my subscribers. There's a very, very busy Q&A session in the chat room and all that kind of stuff. And then real-time text alerts. I'm very, very communicative with my subscribers, so they get a nice stream of thought coming from me. And then we have a lot of material here if you guys sign up that you get into once you become members. Trade spreadsheet, I post every trade that I take so you guys can see as an open book what I'm doing. And then I write a newsletter twice a week, and that's where I get a lot of this stuff to communicate to my subscribers and anybody else who might be considering me. So thanks again for your time. Do appreciate it. You all take care and enjoy your Memorial Day weekend.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're gonna bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.